I'm from Sacramento. I grew up here like you,
Mm.
and I care about the future of my hometown. And my kids are in high school now. They walk or take light rail home from school. So I care about safety of our city and dealing with homelessness. It's not good for anybody. It's not
Right.
good for the homeless, nor is it good for the neighborhoods, communities, small businesses. I've always prided myself on working with others to be effective. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others.
Right.
So the old African proverb rings true in this job. And so I'm very collaborative. I'm practical. I'm looking for real solutions.
Hello and welcome again to another episode of Sacktown Talks. Today we're glad to be joined by one of Sacktown's finest, Assemblyman Kevin McCarty. Kevin, thanks for coming on again. What's going on?
Good to be here. I love talking about Sacramento and all things politics. So great. Thanks for having me back.
You're being super relevant this year so far. Starting the year off with a bang. Tackle football, banning youth football. Got national news, national headlines. Can you kind of talk about the journey in the bill and kind of where you're at with that now?
Well, it was just a kind of a coincidence. It came up out of the year. It's a 2-year bill.
Right.
And frankly, it's a 7-year bill. I've been working on this issue for 7 years since Jerry Brown was governor. And I guess the big picture is, look, I love football. I'm a big Niner guy. I hope this is the year after 29 years to get the Super Bowl ring again. I played tackle and flag when I was a kid. And just growing research, it says that it's not just banning it.
Right.
It's like maybe having the littlest kids do flag when they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, before they reach puberty, before their heads get massive damage. And, it's not me. It's NFL legends like Warren Sapp, Drew Brees, the late John Madden. They're all saying, Brett Favre saying, you know what? Wait till kids reach puberty, and the research is changing year after year. And the medical community is now supporting this change.
Oh yeah, like even like
the family doctors.
I have little boys, and like I definitely would not let them play tackle football. They were
it's
12.
And I know
everyone's like, "Oh, banning tackle football." I was like, "Well, no, not banning tackle football under 12, right?"
Yeah, we're still
That's
allowing
the key.
football. I mean, the NFL is sponsoring huge flag leagues
Right.
for little kids. You look at their TV commercials for the games this weekend.
Yeah.
And throughout the playoffs and Super Bowl, they'll be highlighting youth flag.
Right.
So it's just a way for as little as kids when their brains are still developing, they'll wait till they get older. And some say, it's always parents' rights. And I get that. I'm a parent. I have kids that play youth sports. And, there's certain times when, it's about protecting kids
Right.
and public safety and public health.
Exactly.
And this is one where super controversial. I didn't think it was going to explode at the beginning of the year because it was a 2-year bill.
Right.
So we had to hear it right
Right.
now. And one thing that really changed is there's only one guy in the legislature that played in the NFL. He only played for a hot second.
Yeah,
He played-
Avelino Valencia.
Yeah, only one guy. He said, yeah, this is the right call. So that really told a lot of lawmakers that, you know what, this isn't a far-fetched nanny government type idea, but this makes sense. You have medical research, medical professionals, and hey, the legends, the greats are saying it can wait.
Yeah, that's something. I remember when I was a kid and they made the law where you had to wear a helmet if you were a kid riding your bicycle. And it was the same outrage. Like, oh my God, we're forcing these kids to wear helmets. And now it's just,
This is one thing,
second
Jarrett,
yeah.
where, parents and moms are voting with their feet. Did you go to Jesuit, you said?
Yep,
So
yeah.
Jesuit used to have a robust a Pop Warner League. Now it's pretty much all flag
Yep.
for little kids. And then they do the tackle when they get to 12, 13,
Yep.
14, which is what I'm proposing.
Right.
And so it's happening anyway. Parents are voting with their feet. But I think in 20 years, it'll be like, this will
Yeah.
be like what's happening. It'll be like, why was it such a big deal back then?
Yeah, it was funny. I have my 5-year-old playing flag football right now. And he asked my wife, who's told him he can never play tackle football, if when she dies, he can play tackle football.
Oh, boy.
And she said no. So you're right. The
Well,
moms,
if
the moms
he,
are voting
if he
with their
asks
feet.
his assembly member, McCarty, I'm good with him once he turns after 12,
Yep.
middle school,
13. Yeah, you go.
puberty.
Yeah. So new year. What is this? Your last year in the assembly, 9 years. You've done a lot. What are some of the most memorable things you've done these past 9 years? What are some of your favorite accomplishments?
Well, this is my 10th year, so I'm leaving 2 years early
10 years.
to run for mayor of Sacramento,
Right.
which is kind of interesting too. You may want to ask about that later. Most people think I'm crazy doing that because
I know
look,
we are. We are going to ask you if you're crazy.
yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Yeah.
I love the legislature. I love making a difference on youth
Right.
sports, education, public safety, the environment. So it was a tough decision, but I'm really proud of the mark that we've left these last 9, 10 years, and we had a good run with the budget. And I was chairing the budget committee most of those years for
Right.
education. So just this week we announced that 15,000 more Californians get to go to UC. In the last couple of years because of the work that
That's a
we
lot.
did.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That changes lives. That I'm, changing, rules on when kids can start school to go to preschool for free, pre-K, universal transitional kindergarten. We're implementing, after universal after school programs. I created this program where it's going to fund the construction of student housing on colleges for UC and CSU throughout California. So we're trying to save that money in the budget. So what I'm really looking at my last year is kind of help implement those pieces, but also there's a few things we're trying to save in this budget dialogue as far as the
challenging year, right?
budget. Yeah, I don't think it's as bad as we thought a few months ago. And I think by and large, we'll be able to preserve these transformational investments we made in California for, education, childcare, preschool, higher education. So, but I still have some unfinished business, and I'm looking to do some legislation this year on higher education, financial literacy, adult education. Cleaning up some of the universal transitional kindergarten, pre-K. And then some other hot topic issues like public safety and taking a look at retail theft, drug use, Prop 47. That was put on my plate by the speaker a few months ago to really zero in on this.
So it's interesting. So last year the Public Safety Committee was like national news about no bills getting through, and so here you are. You're now the chair of the Public Safety Committee. What has the speaker told you that are the priorities and what you guys need to get accomplished here?
Well, I think it was the other way around. I think I was appointed by the speaker and asked to do it because I have these views.
Right.
It wasn't like, hey, you go there and do this. I've done some major public safety reform bills over the years, like more accountability for police shootings, a lot of reintegration for formerly incarcerated employment, voting rights, allowing them to serve in the, California Conservation Corps, fighting fires and so forth. So I've done a lot of work, on both sides of these issues. But last couple of years, I really pushed controversial issue with the drug court concept to putting people into drug treatment when they're sentenced for other crimes, and that was controversial. But I view that people need to feed. You need to address their addiction in the criminal justice system. So I think that's one of the flaws in Prop 47. We don't have these drug courts to kind of push people to address their underlying issue. And so that was opposed by the ACLU and some other groups. So I had shown a willingness to lean in and to realize that the status quo is not working.
Right.
So that's what our caucus and our speaker wanted, is to be more open to reforms. In other words, I think in a simplistic term, you can bring more accountability and consequences for people who are repeatedly going to a retail establishment and stealing stuff, whether it's a liquor store, a grocery store, or a Home Depot. And people that are on the streets, using drugs and fentanyl and so forth in public. More accountability. The flip side, we don't want to put people in prison for 20 years. So my job is the next few months is kind of the referee to find the middle ground.
Right.
And I'm an optimist, and I kind of see the direction where we can, make this work. And so, we will have a robust answer. And I think for the past few years, it has been status quo is good, and that's not enough anymore. The vast majority of the legislature and our Democratic caucus want some change. Yeah. But again, we don't want to go back to 20 years to life for stealing a piece of pizza.
Exactly. Yeah, we just had a guest on the other day, and he was talking about those extremes of, having everyone incarcerated or having no rules at all and everyone kind of doing what they want, kind of finding that middle ground. Kind of what are some of the challenges in finding that middle ground and, getting people on board to support it and actually change things?
I think it's fear, fear of the unknown, what it's
Mhm.
going to look like. Um, there are groups who fought hard to bring back their redemption side. I'm really proud of the stuff that we done for people that have been warehoused in prison for 20 or 30 years, that committed a crime when they're 18 or 19.
Right.
Now they're 40 or 50. Those people, when they get out, very rarely you see them as far as a recidivism statistic. So we don't want to get rid of all of those important reforms, and some of the Prop 47, as far as, you know, too many drug offenses were just being, warehoused in prison and sometimes county jail. But the flip side is there is not as much accountability. So I think there's a fear
Mhm.
of the unknown. I think some of the proposals that have been put out so far maybe go too far as kind of lock them up, and some are not far enough. So the legislature is a messy process,
Right.
and I think my job, what the speaker asked me to do, is work with our colleagues, and we have a select committee on this too, that's chaired by Assemblymember Zaber, which I'm on too. We have multiple hearings on this, go around California, is to have an answer. I think the public is frustrated. They don't understand why when they go to Target, they have to get a key
Right.
to get
It's annoying.
their deodorant.
Mhm.
Before, you'd have to get a key to get, the video player, whatever it's
Right.
called, MP3 players. Now you have to get, not MP3 players. What's it called? The kids
Yeah.
games,
Video games. Yeah.
video game, the
Yeah.
consoles.
Yeah.
Yeah, MP3 is different.
I was like, how the world has changed. An MP3
Yes,
player is now worth less than
yes,
deodorant.
yeah. So, we need to, be realistic
Yeah.
and bring a little more common sense to the equation.
So yeah, it's interesting. So kind of wanted to talk to you about homelessness, but kind of want to talk to you about Sacramento and being mayor.
Yeah,
And it's a tough job. Not many mayors in this city have left with glowing results. Everyone wants to go in and wants to change the city, and they kind of leave kind of defeated. We saw, I don't know how many years ago, Mayor Steinberg came in there
mhm,
with a lot of hope, and
yeah.
he was slammed with COVID, and we had Mayor Johnson before that. It's a tough job, and so there's always this talk about like the strong mayor, and like how Sacramento doesn't have a strong mayor. Can you kind of explain what the mayor in Sacramento's role is and how it's different than a council member or a mayor
Yeah.
in another city?
Well, the first part of your question is a true one. A lot of people, when they say, "Hey, you're running for mayor, Kevin," they say, "Why are you doing that? Are you
Yeah.
insane?" You see what happened to Steinberg. You see
Right.
with Kevin Johnson. It's not always easy, and you have an amazing job being a legislator.
Right.
That's true. But I guess the big picture is I'm from Sacramento. I grew up here like you,
Mm.
and I care about the future of my hometown. And my kids are in high school now. They walk or take light rail home from school, and so I care about safety of our city and dealing with homelessness. It's not good for anybody. It's not
Right.
good for the homeless, nor is it good for the neighborhoods, communities, small businesses. So, I kind of got frustrated by what I've seen and decided, you know what, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and get in there and do it myself. And not that one person is Superman could come in there and solve all the problems by snapping their fingers, but
Right.
I'm confident that with my experience and skill set, I've been a city commissioner, I've been a city council member, I've been an assembly member, and I've always prided myself on working with others. And that gets to the strong mayor
Mhm.
question, to be effective. If you want to go, you know, fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go with others.
Right.
So the old African proverb rings true in this job. And so I'm very collaborative. So I've had to use those skills as a legislator, as a city council member, to be effective. So I will certainly bring that, and going eyes wide open what I can and can't do. I'm practical. I'm looking for real solutions to our issues, whether they're homelessness, addiction, building more housing. We do have this council form of government where the city manager, runs a city,
Mhm.
not the mayor, and that has created a lot of frustration for citizens. And Steinberg is that there's a problem, and people say, "Hey, you're the mayor. You're,
Right.
you're the guy with the muscle to solve these problems." When the mayor literally is one of 9 votes, you have just as much power as one of the council members. You have the bully pulpit, you chair the meetings, you kind of set the agenda for the city. So, I'm comfortable with those rules.
Mhm.
It is what it is. It's been that way in Sacramento. Our residents like it that way. There's been
Yeah, we tried to change it, what, 2
yeah,
times?
and
Didn't work.
multiple times the voters say no, they don't want strong mayor. They want strong mayor. They want equal equal opportunity for council members and mayor and citizens to be engaged, not, big money interest to run the show.
So that's interesting. So we have the districts, and the people from those districts vote for the member, and then we just have a citywide member at large, basically.
That's the
And
mayor.
That's what the
Yeah.
mayor. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and it just shows that you have to be effective.
Mhm.
You have to be a good people person. You can't go in there with a big ego and be like, "Hey, I'm the mayor and I have the best ideas," and every day, have a press conference and people are going to follow you.
Right.
I think what I've learned is no, you want to, like again, that proverb, you want to go far, you go with others and you slow
Mhm.
down, you have people walk with you. And so that's been my skill set as an elected leader for 20 years. And I always look for, you know, practical solutions. Let me give you one that's hot right now is that we went through the pandemic. You mentioned we had COVID and, downtown just died. And actually during the pandemic, Midtown thrived.
Right.
People live there. So I'm thinking, downtown is still not doing well. So let's, turn the lemons into lemonade. So I introduced a bill a couple of years ago. The governor signed it. It's called the Adaptive Reuse Bill. Well, let's turn our state offices that are underutilized into housing.
Right.
If we had more people down here, we'd bring more life to the area, which we have, not a lot going on. Sometimes safety questions and lack of affordable housing being built. So literally right now, a few blocks from the Capitol, the old EDD building at 800 Capitol Mall, we just selected a developer to turn that it's almost a full square block into 500 plus rental housing units, all affordable. So, that's the first one that the governor's team DGS is really excited about, using it as the example, as the model for Sacramento and potentially across California. So that really has a great opportunity to bring life to our core. We used to have a thriving downtown 60, 70 years ago right here,
Right.
and now with the state offices, and it's been hit or miss as far as a success. And I think repopulating that area is a big win for us. So, that's kind of what I'd like to give an example of looking at problems, looking for solutions, and bringing about good ideas going forward.
It's interesting. Like the state owns so much of downtown Sacramento, right? That's something we don't usually realize.
Yeah, we don't pay property tax on it either. I know mayors for years have always lamented about that. So I think the governor is realizing that too, with some of the executive orders we've done the last couple of years with surplus land. The one thing here with is adaptive reuse. It's complicated turning an old building into housing.
Right.
There's a few examples in Sacramento. The Maidstone over there on 11th and K used to be office. Now it's housing. The Citizen Hotel used to be office, 20 years ago. And now it's a hotel, but same type of concept, residential kind of. So some other state buildings could be potentially utilized by their makeup, their stairways, where the elevators are, into housing. Some they may have to scrape them and turn them down, tear them down. But there's, I guess, the big picture. There's options because the nature of work is changing, and so we may not need all these offices downtown here in Sacramento and across our country. So one problem we do have: housing and homelessness. So let's focus on merging those two things together.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting because it's like before COVID, everyone wanted to live closer to downtown because that's where they worked. And now that, people are working from home, you're seeing the suburbs just, thrive and grow price-wise exponentially. Kind of affordable housing in Sacramento. It's tough for some people to buy homes in these areas. They can be, they're close, like median price is almost $1 million in some areas. What's some of your solutions to kind of making homes more affordable in around the city?
Well, I'm very concerned about, entry-level state workers, state employees, people that work for associations, people that work at the Capitol.
Yeah, staffers, right?
Staffers. Yeah. I mean, I think when I was a staffer and I was able to, buy my first home and rent an apartment here, it was way under 30% of my income.
Right.
And now there's no way. You have to make $100,000 to buy a house or sometimes, rent an apartment down here on your own, close to that. And so, most of the apartments being built right now that you see, they're market rate apartments and they're $2,000 a month. So we need to build way more housing on all levels. And I have some ideas for that. The state and the city have done a great job changing the zoning laws to make it easier to change from commercial to residential, to go to make it a duplex, to do all the zoning issues. one thing that cities and Sacramento has not done a good job at, which I want to zero in on, is the building permit side. How long it takes to get your city building permit, how the building permit doesn't always coordinate with the utilities department. It's just very frustrating. I know this firsthand. We built an ADU in our backyard a year ago,
Really, man?
and I went through this. I remember my contractor told me, well, Kevin, it's frustrating for you, but you should think about my project I have over here, a mile from here. They're way worse than you. They probably know your name down there, the building department. So I was like, he's probably right. So I was thinking about it that, construction projects are tough to pencil out for a lot of reasons that are out of the city's control. Interest rates, cities don't control interest rates. Labor costs, those are driven by the labor market. Materials costs for wood and concrete and steel, those are all, fixed costs outside the city. But what the city can control is time and certainty. So if you can cut down the time to get an approval and have more certainty and have more streamlining and working to get projects done, I think that could be a huge win and a competitive advantage to greenlight more affordable housing projects. All statewide, but right here in Sacramento. So what I want to do as mayor is, what can we do to bring in the construction industry, our planning and the planners, architects, engineers to come up with like a plan, a blueprint commission, like what can we do so we can, you really pump some oxygen in these projects.
That's funny because, you guys have passed so many bills over the years to kind of increase housing with ADUs and things like that. I've talked to developers, especially in Los Angeles, who are talking exactly what you're talking about. They're frustrated because their permit is stuck for like a year or more sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually hire people. These guys are called like fixers or something like that. And all their job is to nag the city department to step the permit through the process.
And it's not always consumer friendly. Like you have to go.
No, you basically have to hire a lobbyist to get the job done. It's crazy.
Or you have to use an app.
Yeah.
What if you're a construction company that your workers don't have an iPhone?
Right.
They don't speak perfect English. They're going in there and we're not always, customer friendly dealing with consumer friendly dealing with people. You have to go only on certain days. You show up like for your, you used to be able to walk in like, hey, I'm here for my building permit to do this new roof. Like, oh, you need to come back on a Tuesday. Well, today's a Thursday. Like, I'm here. You're open. Help me. So, when I was on the city council, we had the city manager, and his mantra was, get the customer to success. Like, that's a good one. That's what you see in like, top retail establishments like Nordstrom's or, taking care of customers. And I was like, we need to bring back more of that. And that went away. We had some flaws, and there was some corruption in building permits during the flood moratorium out in Thomas. But, we kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. But I think we need to go back to those concepts and like, how can you help people get projects across the finish line faster? Because that helps the city, it helps economic development, it helps people be able to afford. It checks off so many boxes, and it impacts homelessness, which we haven't really talked about yet either. Like, that's the issue we see. It's not enough houses in the pipeline to get people, from one step to the next.
Right. Yeah, and that's obviously one of the biggest problems of the city is homelessness, and they've been trying to work on it, and trying different solutions, but it doesn't seem like anything's worked quite yet. And we're still seeing tents randomly here or there popping up. Kind of, how do we finally get in front of this problem and kind of, maybe we can't solve it 100%, but at least make it, better like it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, we need to make it better. We can't make it worse. And so I think first, stop the bleeding. That's one of the top reasons I decided to leave the legislature and run for mayor, because I saw it firsthand. I live in the core of the city, and we have tents right on the corner from our house. And our kids are walking home from middle school last year, and the last stretch to getting home, they had to walk in the street underneath the bridge there, underneath the freeway. And so it's just, very, very frustrating for everybody. So I think what I've learned the last few years is it's not always money. Sometimes it's just, a sense of urgency and leadership. And let me give you an example. 2 years ago, the county of Sacramento asked me if I could help them get some money in the budget to build emergency shelter to get people off the American River Parkway. The Parkway is our jewel of Sacramento. I love the Parkway. It's my top district priority. So I told the county supervisors, sure, I'll try to get some money in the budget. So 2 years ago, remember, we had this surge in the state budget. So, they asked me if I can get a $10 million earmark in the budget for emergency housing, emergency shelter next to the parkway to get people off of the parkway. I said, yep, I'll fight for it. So lo and behold, the budget passed that year, and I got an earmark of $25 million.
Wow.
They did not 10, not 15, not 25 million. So more than double what they asked for. And, we're going up on 2 years and they haven't spent one penny. So, the supervisor who helped me, Supervisor Desmond, he's equally as frustrated as I am. I'm not at all throwing him under the bus because he's like, Kevin, keep banging the drum too, because this is just unacceptable. And so, the constituents and the voters are like, hey, this is the top problem, fix it. And then we say, oh, we need money to do X, Y, and Z. And we get money and it doesn't always play itself out. So I think too often, governments, including right here in Sacramento, we focus on the perfect as opposed to the good, looking for the perfect solution for this. Let's focus on the good. So the good, in my eyes, is like, hey, let's use some vacant land like Cal Expo, the old park and ride sites next to the freeways, the city courtyards we're not using. Let's have those where people can legally camp. Right. Where people you can put, their cars and RVs and people who right now are on the streets. And it's not perfect, but that has better, it has water, right, trash, and bathrooms. And if they're there in a certain area, it has more security and you can provide services. Right. So you can get people a path to the next step. And so I just think as opposed to, having, permanent supportive housing and apartments for everybody, which is $500,000 to $1 million per unit. Yeah. That's just illusory right now. We just need to focus on emergency shelter for the masses. And then we concurrently focus on that. But we have to just get people off of the streets, out of our neighborhoods and parks into a better situation. Yeah. I went this week to do the count point in time. And I ran into a couple homeless people and we asked them a bunch of questions. And I asked them, would you go to a place like I'm describing? And they said, yeah, it's way better than we have here. Right.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you're probably like the one candidate for mayor who grew up here, has, been on city council, had the experience in the state, now, coming back. Can you kind of talk about, your campaign in the next, 30 days, what it's primary time and go to kind of how you're spending your time and getting out to the voters?
Yeah, no, I'm a sports guy. So this is go time. This is like game time right here. So
fourth quarter. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the voters get their ballots in a few weeks and, all politics are local and retail politics has always been my strong suit. So I'm out there going to the farmer's market on weekends, talking to people, knocking on doors most days, talking to voters, going to community events. So I enjoy that. And, people are asking the same questions, which you just asked earlier, the issues of housing, homelessness, the city budget, our youth, public safety, those are the core issues that come up a lot. And I think that people value experience to be able to get stuff done. And so that's what I pride myself on is that, I've been effective at all these different levels of government looking for real solutions to our problems. And so, I'm bringing that same skill set I currently have in this legislature that I had on the city council to the voters. And so it's up to them. And I think I got a good shot, but on March 5th, we'll know. So there's 6 of us running and the top 2 go on to the general election in November.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for taking the time to stop by and talk with us before the election and best of luck and hope to see you in the runoff here in a couple weeks.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kevin.
For the conversation.